So, Big Josh Boy, I gotta ask you a quick question because, of course, we got like a jam-packed show today. Not because of like any particular reason. Like, it's not that we have a bunch of news stories or anything like that. Because, luckily, we want to talk about our Game Awards predictions for, and I guess it's a pseudo game. We have yet to actually set stakes for this. I joked about giving Big Josh Boy his veto cards based on if he wins this game, but that has yet to be actually firmly set in place. So right now, we're just going to be talking about our Game Awards predictions and such. We're going to be giving you the update on those in our next week's episode, which will also be our Indie Game of the Year episode, but we will talk about that a little bit later. I've got to ask you a question, Big Josh Boy. You know, our friendship may be on the line here, okay?
Oh, shit.
Okay.
All right.
What do you think of corgis?
Corgis are great.
Of course, fuck yeah, dude. This is why we're buddies, okay?
Corgis are fucking great. Don't. Oh, man. I was scared for a second because I started in real hot and I was like, I don't want you to be like, oh, I fucking hate them. And I was gonna be like,
stupid.
You're right.
They're little hot dog dogs.
I was about to be like, dude. You're right. Our friendship is on the line.
No, bro. Okay, so my wife and I, after her cat died, like we had a brief discussion about possibly getting a dog, and then we got another cat. I didn't know the discussion was still ongoing for the most part, but later on she was like, "Guys, we're getting a dog," and I was like, "Okay,
well,
like,
all right
whatever."
then.
And she was like, "What breeds do you like?" So we just kind of went through like a couple of different breeds. We got on to like a corgi, a Boston Terrier, or I believe like a Schnauzer, and we weren't 100% sure
choices.
What we wanted to do. Okay, let me see if you can guess what my one thing was about a dog. Like, I didn't necessarily care about the breed, but I cared. There was one thing that she had to make sure before we could get a dog. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see if you can guess it. You actually might not guess it because I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before.
Nothing is immediately coming to mind.
Okay. All right.
Is this are you getting a dog that is like a pup, or are you getting
we are. That was like one of the things where we wanted to make sure we will at the very least rescue one animal. And then like with Dan, we rescued him, then we got Nat as a kitten, and we rescued Burley. Normally we do it that way, but with dogs, here's the thing you didn't know about me. I am uncomfortable around dogs. I do not trust dogs. They freak me out. And so I wanted to make sure that if we got a dog, that it was a puppy, so it could grow up with our cats, so I wouldn't have to worry about like it hurting them. Plus, we're thinking about possibly like trying to have kids soon, and I was like, okay, I want possibly a dog to be young, kid to be young, like it won't be a big issue. But my one criteria for a dog was that I had to be able to beat it up. Not that she would let me, that I could physically overpower this dog. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That she had to choose a breed that I could physically, if in like it got bit by a rabid dog or it gets bit by a bat, it goes all Cujo. I have to be able to punch that bitch into the stratosphere, okay? I got to be able to just turn that little bastard into dust, some fine paste. Do you know what I mean?
So you're buying a Chihuahua?
Fuck that, dude. I ain't getting a Chihuahua.
That's the only breed you can get.
You know what? Get that extra little like asterisk there. Any breed that I can beat up except for a Chihuahua, because those fucking suck. Like, ever since that George Lopez movie where he like voiced over a Chihuahua, that shit's weird. Not a fan. Okay. I guess it would be a Chihuahua movie that George Lopez voiced, but like, you know, whatever. It's cool. It's cool.
Sometimes the star is just too big.
Yeah, George Lopez, like, he's in a movie, bro. Everybody, like Shark Boy and Lava Girl, that's a George Lopez movie. I don't know about fucking Taylor Lautner or whatever. Fuck that kid. Like, go back to Twilight. This is about George Lopez, okay?
Yeah.
Fucking nobody stupid. You idiot.
Fucking got him. Yeah, I would not get a Chihuahua either. But my wife is pretty much the same. Her reasoning is different, but it's the same reason. She doesn't want to beat up the dog, but she just wants to be able to hold it if like a dog was to run away, like, you know, on a leash. Like she doesn't want a dog that can literally pull her and then she'll go flying. She wants to be
She's
able
like,
to,
I want to be able to handle this dog. And I'm like, I want to be able to fucking handle this dog.
Yeah, it's a little different, but pretty much the same thing. So
Okay.
I get it.
All
I
right.
get it. Which sucks too, because here's the thing. I want a big dog, and she does not, because she's like, I can't handle it. And I'm like, well, then you should start going to the gym. But she doesn't like that.
Maybe you should bulk up, you little dumbass.
Yeah, she doesn't appreciate when I talk to her like that, though. But it's fine. Okay. You know, that's how marriage works, right? Come on, guys.
It's a back and forth, you know. I say get stronger. She says you're a dick. It's like, it's whatever, you know. It's
like, yeah, you know, it's fine. It's a cute little game we play. It's fine.
Yeah, I asked the corgi question because we came home. We told our roommate, we're like, yeah, we went to go look at a dog because we had been gone for a while. Because we live in Idaho, but the breeder lives in Oregon, and we went out there to like kind of check out her situation, check out the dogs and everything. She's this really nice lady who just lives on a farm, and she just has
that sounds good.
She's got hella corgis, dude. There's like 12. There's a shitload of corgis. Yeah, bro. She got a lot of corgis, okay? And they just have all this room to run around in and stuff, which is like, we got a big backyard, but we got fucking 10 acres or whatever. Yeah, I think she had like 5 acres. So we'll figure that bit out.
You got to scoop that baby up before it starts realizing what all that space is.
Yeah. So she's going to keep them for like 2 months. We ended up putting a deposit down, which allowed us to like choose the color that we wanted. And we basically get to call dibs on any of like the puppies born in these next 2 lots. But she holds them for 2 months, and she can do it for an additional like 1 month to 3 months. If we pay a little bit extra, she'll work on like more potty training and get them more vaccinations and stuff like that. But yeah, we came home, told our roommate about it, and he's like, what kind? And I was like, oh, it's a corgi. And he was like, gross. I hate corgis. They're stupid. What? And like both my wife and I were like, what? Yeah, we were like so befuddled by this that we were like, do you know what a corgi looks like? Like, I don't believe you.
Must be thinking of a different dog. No.
Yeah.
Listen, not a Chihuahua, a corgi.
Exactly. Yeah, we were like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, they're like stubby little dogs. And I was like, yeah, dude, like, you like corgis? He's like, no, they look stupid. And he's like, why don't you get a cute dog like a Boston Terrier? Corgis just look smushed. And we're like, that's literally what a Boston Terrier looks like. Is that it was like gone over by a steamroller. I don't understand.
That's such a I have rarely heard a person being like, ugh, I hate corgis. I feel like I've never met a person who hates them.
Here's the thing. I thought the same thing. Boom. 5 minutes later, my in-laws come over. My mother-in-law tells me that she thinks corgis are stupid, that she hates them. And I was like, goodness. 2 people in one night. Really?
Wow.
That shit was crazy, dude.
Yeah, that'll change your whole perspective on life.
Yeah, I was like, y'all are dumb. Why am I even...
I know.
I don't want to be in this family anymore. I don't want this person to live with me, you know?
For real. Kick them out. Put the dog in there.
I'm gonna give your room to the dog because they deserve it.
They deserve
for being
it.
So cute.
That dog is much cuter than you are. Why do you get that room? You could stay outside.
I got a kennel for you. It's pretty nice. Nice little dog run. But yeah, I was like, dude, are corgis just fucking stupid? And I've been like living in an echo chamber. Like, does everybody hate corgis and I just don't know about it? Nah, dude, they're fucking dope. I'm glad you reassured me, Big Josh boy.
That's what I'm here for. All right.
You are a diamond in the rough. You know, you are a fucking gem. Yeah. You are the thing that holds me to this earth. I mean, I love my wife, but like, I get out of the bed in the morning for Big Josh boy. That's what I do, you know?
Yeah. On Mondays you do.
Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we are once again just going to be talking about our Game Awards predictions. Of course, we got a whole bunch of new stuff and other things as well. Listener questions, God bless the credits, all fun. But before we talk about any of that, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest of average Josh Boys. How you doing today, Big Josh boy?
I'm doing okay. A little tired, a little sleepy,
okay.
A little sleepy.
All right.
It's been a rough day, even though I did nothing. But
would you like to share why you're tired and sleepy?
You know what? All right, I will. So here's the thing. Okay, people are gonna make fun of me. It's not because I'm fat, I swear. So I bought these really shitty Wait, hold up. I bought these
because
really
you got them fat
shitty-
cheeks, dude. but
I do
whatever.
have fat cheeks, bro. But I bought these crappy because I never fit into my suits. And anytime you buy a suit, it's usually like, oh, a wedding for like that 1 year, and then like 2 years go by, and you're like, oh, I need another one, and then you're never the right size because you've either like gained weight or you've lost weight, and so none of my clothes fit. So I ordered some crappy suits from Amazon. It was like $70. Put them on, and I was like, okay, this is fine. I'll go in it. The pants were really tight, but I was like, this is fine, whatever. Now, one of the things about me that a lot of people know when I go to weddings is I love to dance. I'll get on the dance floor. I'll go fucking crazy. I do the whole thing where I'm like really going at it, and I'll like dance on the floor and do a whole bunch of shit. And so I was trying to get people hyped up, and I was like fucking dancing around, and I was going nuts, and I was like smacking people and trying to get them to dance because no one was really doing it. Like, you know, when you're like moving around and you're like hitting them on the shoulder and kind of being like, come on, let's go. Because I was trying to get like a circle pit, like people to go like, you know, one after another. And it was like just me doing a bunch of things.
That person at weddings.
And
I get it.
Yeah. And no one was, everyone on the dance floor was like lame as shit, and they wouldn't do anything. And I was like, fucking come on. And I like went to go like dance with this one person, and I did like a full slide towards him, and I got, you know, like down, like sliding down on my knees, and I went and I fucking slid, and my pants fucking tore, dude. The whole entire, like the whole from where the zipper is to the seam to my ass crack, fucking
from tip to taint, dude.
Tip to taint, dude. And I fucking got up, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I just like showed the giant crack to one of my buddies, and I was like, well, fuck me. And so so I was like, well, I guess I'm done dancing because I don't want my dick waggling around people. I don't think they're going to be as into dancing with me at that point. But like everyone was going nuts because they were like, what the fuck? Because for one, everyone was like, oh yeah, he's dancing. And then they were like, whoa, what just happened? And I was like, oh, I got to sit down. And a buddy of mine was like, how bad is it? And I like looked down, and I was like, bro, it's a good thing that I'm wearing black suit and have black like boxers, because literally like I could just squat and my balls will just like pop right out. Like
you're just packing too much heat, bro. You know, you need to let out those pants a little bit. Let out that crotch, because it can't be contained.
It just can't. It can't, bro. I don't know. It was such a ridiculous. And the funny thing about it is I know so few people at that wedding too. So it was like, people are going to like, no one really knows me. So they're just going to be like, that one fucking guy who like ripped his goddamn pants.
Like, yeah, you're like, the thing you're leaving out is like, I crashed a wedding yesterday, ripped my pants, my balls came out, it was crazy.
It was crazy. I had to go. The cops started chasing me. It was nuts. No, funny enough, we actually did crash a wedding before that because there were like 2 in the venue, and we didn't know many of the people there. So we just went to another wedding and stood there for a while until we realized we're like, this isn't where we're supposed to be. Like, what the fuck? We had to leave and find the real one.
You're just like eating their cake and shit. You're just like, sup, dude? And they're like, who do you know? Like Brad or Mindy? And you're just like, I am in the wrong place.
Like, I don't know that I'm in the right room.
You just like nervously moonwalk out the door. You're just like, nope.
Yeah. It was a traumatic event. I am scarred for life.
Are you ever gonna dance at weddings again?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I fucking love dancing at weddings. I'm just gonna get better pants next time.
See, I don't know why I even asked, because last week, Big Josh Boy almost died by a sharp ass chip. He's still eating chips, bro. He's just gonna chew a little bit more. This week, Dick almost falls out. You're like, it's a hazard that comes with packing this much heat, bro. Like, I gotta be prepared to bust a few seams.
You know, that's the life I live. All right. I like to live dangerously, eating chips and dancing at weddings. What a guy.
Yeah, I've never had it to where, like, you know, I got fat balls, but I'm not packing anything special. So like I've never busted a seam, but you know, I'm proud. I got them like thick ass thighs, bro. I wear holes eventually after a couple months of wearing some pants. My ball might pop out too,
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Granted, I don't think most people are meant to like do that breakdance slide in dress pants, but I just don't care because I'm like, I want to do this because I enjoy dancing. So it's a little bit of my fault, but it's fine. Next time I'm gonna get, you know how those I fucking think they're so ugly, but those jackets that'll have like the little like patch on the arm, like the elbow patches.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get one
they're
for
fucking
my crotch.
Stupid.
I'm gonna get a big elbow crotch.
You're gonna wear like a chastity belt kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that
It'll
way
be like
never...
the Superman suit. You're just like wearing your underwear on the outside, but it's actually part of your pants. Like it's just
exactly.
5 more layers of cloth.
That's what you got to do.
Okay. All right. There you go. Big Josh boy is just busting seams everywhere. Of course, before we get into what we've been playing, we've got to go through some housekeeping. Please check out our new developer interview going live this Wednesday. That is Wednesday, the 8th of December. It is with Magnum of Ghost Coast Games, which, I mean, you gotta, that's a little bit coincidental. You know, we're talking about Big Josh boy's crash. It pops up Magnum, whatever. They're talking about their game Nobody. Seems interesting enough. So once again, that is Nobody developer Magnum from Ghost. I might have said this wrong. I might have said Ghost Ship Games. It's Ghost Coast Games, by the way. I might have said it incorrectly the first time, but that one's going live on Wednesday, December the 8th. Just check out every Wednesday. We have some awesome developer interviews going live. Once again, each and every Wednesday. Please check them out. Head over to Teespring to check out the IndiePod store where you can get a dope-ass IndiePod hoodie. I laughed so hard when I found out that one of our listeners and patrons, Mr. Sam Fillion from Canada, had to help dig out his UPS dude in the snow just to get his hoodie, basically. That shit's fucking hilarious. I'm so glad that you paid for that twice. It just lights my life. You know what I mean?
Feels very much like a Canada stereotype, though.
I know, right? He's like, had to dig him out of the snow. And I was like, fucking today in Idaho, we saw like a couple snowflakes just drizzled on my lawn, whatever. Basically just rained all day. And he's like, got like 10 feet, you know, no big deal.
What are you going to do?
You just dig everybody out. It's cool. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Please check out our YouTube channel. It's just IndiePod over on YouTube, so you can watch these episodes. Leave us reviews on any site in which you could do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out the most. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. If you give us any amount of time or any amount of your money, you are absolutely fantastic, and we love you for it. But we gotta thank those $3 tiers and higher. So thank you so much to Ethan, a gamer for fun, John. It's just, yeah, it's just done. We'll see Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Australia, Juno, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much. You are all so amazing. And Big Josh Boy, you have been playing a game that you wanted to talk about last week, but you couldn't because you were under NDA and we did not want to fuck with anything. So please tell me about Archvale of it's of Idoz and Phops. I don't really know. That's a hard one, but please tell me about Archvale. Seemingly you're enjoying it.
I was, and then I beat it. So
damn.
I did. Okay. I really liked Archvale to the point where I think this is going to be one of my top 5 for the year. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. Basically, think of this game like a very cutesy pixel art version of Zelda, but as a bullet hell. So like Zelda mashed up with Enter the Gungeon. Sounds good. Okay. It is a very light RPG where a lot of your progression is in these things that you have that are badges, which give you a slight buff to certain things. And you have like certain builds you can make. You have items that you can buy and gear that you can craft based on the resources that you're getting by defeating enemies and defeating, well, I guess scavenging throughout the world. And you're constantly going from this like biome to biome to collect these arch pieces, which were scattered throughout the world and being protected by these undead beings who are trying to make sure that a specific god or some sort of sentient being doesn't like get out. And you're this child, and these are the one things with these games where I'm always like, why am I a kid? Like, why am I a child? And everyone will say,
you're
like,
pure
oh,
of
you're
heart,
just
bro.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, you're just a child. How could you do this? And you're just like, whatever. And you're like, I'm swinging a sword and killing everything. Which, you know, I guess chosen one, sure, why not? Some pieces of that I don't really think are that good, but it doesn't matter because the game is really fun. You have the difference of basically playing melee, ranged, or magician. So it's kind of think of like bows, you know, swords, and like mage, kind of like a spell book or a staff. And so my favorite was doing these tomes, which would shoot out and kind of like somewhat home on to certain people and like try to find them, and it had better range. So I usually use that. But if you wanted to go melee, you would have more damage, but you'd have to be in their face and you could possibly take more damage. And like I said, there are these badges that you can put on that will kind of help your build out depending on which type of damage you're trying to go. And a lot of it is, you know, you start out and you're just going through and you have these monsters that are shooting out a few bubbles here and there, and they're also charging at you. So you got to use these dash moves. And it's like, at first I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. You know, it's a little challenging. And I went through about halfway through the game and then to like the last couple of biomes. And I was like, fuck this game. This is too hard. I was getting really pissed. That final boss, I think they changed it a little bit because I saw some patch notes, but like, good God, that final boss sucked because I hate the fashioned of, I believe it's like commonly known in Konami type games where they're like, here's the final boss, and you're like, okay, cool, I beat it, and then they're like, but now fight another one, and you're like, but I have like no health, I have to heal, and then they're like, okay, well, you finished that one too, well, now fight another one, and you're like, fuck, man, no, just let me fight a boss and then be done with it. So you got to fight 3 different phases and go through and healing and blah blah blah, which sucked, but still it was a lot of fun. There's also these like challenge little kind of like mini games where it's just like a little bullet hell type thing where you're chasing a crystal that's like randomly moving on a map, and you have to grab it a number of times while enemies are shooting at you that you can't kill. So you just have to kind of like dash your way through, which some of them really fun, others extremely frustrating, and I hate the developers for it. God, it was awful to go through some of those challenges, but I can't say I did them all. So I win. I don't know. It was like,
so I'm better than you. Suck it.
Suck it. Not at all. It took me like most of them easy peasy, you know, a couple of tries and you're good. There was one specific one that just like, I could not get for the life of me. And I think I spent an hour just trying to do. But overall, you know, there were some points of like, God, I'm so mad. But mostly it was very enjoyable. And even with those parts where I was mad, you know, it's definitely just a like anger until you get through with it. And then you're like, I feel so accomplished because it was a tough part. Now, Granted, I was on normal mode. There is a hardcore mode. I don't even know. I have no interest in playing that or finding out how hard that is. Bullet hells are like not my thing generally. So it was a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I definitely had fun with it. It's like a 10-hour game, and it's on Game Pass. So I would highly recommend this one. It's a lot of fun.
I did actually see that when you talked about it last week, wanting to like cover it or not knowing whether or not we should cover it. I ended up like when it released, saw it on Game Pass, and I was like, maybe I'll play this bit. Just compare it with Big Josh Boy. But I ended up not actually.
I think you'd have fun. Yeah, I do. Because did you ever play Enter the Gungeon? You played a little bit of it, right?
I played a little bit. Yeah, I'm not super good with bullet hells. For some reason, it's just like the projectiles, I just get lost in them. Like I forget where I am. And I'm like, well, I'm fucking dead. Whatever.
It's pretty good because you get certain things, like every one of the like fountains that you can quick travel to, you get like 1 defense each time you unlock it. You also, as you're playing and getting to new worlds, you get better equipment and things. So like there's slight forms of progression to kind of help you and make it a little bit easier for you to get through. Whereas some sections, like you keep grinding until you can craft equipment that makes you not as susceptible to damage. But that being said, there also is an easy mode. I don't know how much easier that is, though. But I still think it's pretty fun.
All right. Maybe I'll check that one out. Once again, everybody, that one's Archvale or Archvale. I don't fucking know. I said Archvale. He said Archvale. He's probably right. You know, he's a smart one. By Idoz and Phops. Check that one out. It's on Xbox Game Pass. At the very least, PC. Did you happen to check it to see if it was on console as well?
I believe it's on the Xbox console. I don't know about other locations. I would have to look that up. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
It looks like, it looks like Xbox One, Nintendo Switch. I don't see PlayStation though, which is interesting.
All right, well, there you go. Big
Yeah.
Josh Boy is also playing Mechajammer by Whalenought Studios. This is actually a game he talked about briefly in our Indie Game of the Year so far when we talked about like games that were coming up that might actually dethrone some of our titles. Big Josh Boy, how you feeling about Mechajammer? Is it just pushing peeps out of slots? You feeling good?
No.
Oh, shit.
I am very sad to say that I'm enjoying my time with Mechajammer, but not at all at the amount that I thought I would when I first heard about this game and when I talked to the developers. The reason being, there's a lot of bugs, and there's a lot of things that are very glitchy in this game still. And to some degree, this game is very, very difficult in the way that it will not hold your hand at all. It takes a lot of homage from the older RPG games where you really just didn't know what you were doing until you figured it out, and there were just things that were happening in the world and there was no explanation for really anything, and you just got to kind of play it and get there. And I do appreciate that to some extent, but in others I'm like, God, I wish there was just like a little bit of like even a recap. Like one of the things, and I'll explain exactly what this game is in a second, but one of the biggest things that some people will like love and some people will hate, and I'm kind of mixed, like in between of love and hate with this, is when you have like a quest where someone talks to you and gives you information, you literally get nothing in the game that will mention what happened, nothing that will tell you what your quest is, nothing that will tell you a conversation that you heard. There's no like log of anything. Now, what you do get though is a notepad. And okay. I'm talking about a literal notepad. You click the button and you get to just type, and you get to be like, Dr. Doodoo-Face said XYZ, so I have to go here and do blah, blah, blah. And that's great. I think it's great because, you know, Dr. Doodoo-Face has some great things to say, and you got to put it in your notepad, and then you feel like a detective when you're like, haha, I'm getting this right and I'm solving things. But at the same time, there's so much going on in this game that it doesn't give you any direction of like what things mean. And the map is so big that you put notes down and it just doesn't mean anything for so long until you stumble upon something that it can feel pretty unrewarding. And then to go with the glitchiness of it, my notepad keeps just fucking refreshing and there's nothing in my notepad. So like, what's the point of writing this shit down if this guy's just like, the way I look at it is my character like writes a piece of note, like a piece of, you know, a note on a piece of paper. And then he like, all right, well, I got that, and just crumples it up and throws it out and starts walking. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, I don't understand. There's sometimes where I'll quick save and enemies will show back up. Like once I load and I'm like, I just killed you. I don't want to do this again. There's times where I'll quick save and like a bridge that I had lowered will not be lowered, but I'll be on the other side where I can't lower it again. So I'll have to go all the way around. And I'm like, well, goddamn, man. So like, there's a lot to this game that could still be good, but it's like really buggy. And then it kind of blends. Like there's just so much. It's so dark and gritty, which is great, but it's like, and I've seen a lot of people complain about this. It's just a lot of brown, and it doesn't really seem as inviting because the map is so large, but there's not a lot in those areas. It just feels like it's not really clustered with things for you to do other than a million homeless people. And because I don't have the social skill high enough to recruit them, all I could do is just talk to them and have them say, get lost.
Okay. All right.
And I'm like, that's great. And I could build a different way, but like, I don't know. Plus the whole idea of an RPG is that you kind of build this specific character and you role play as that character. And I feel like it has a really interesting way of building your character by giving them what their past experiences was, like what they did as a job. And every job is like 5 years of your life. And then you get a negative and a positive thing that happens based on ones you picked, which I think is really cool. But like once you're done with that, they never reference any of that again. You don't really have a lot of options from a dialogue perspective to choose or to kind of make anything different from the story. It's just like you have someone just talks to you, and half of the time there's really no one who wants to talk to you. And once again, this goes into the whole idea of like, yes, it doesn't hold your hand, but there's just moments where I'm just like, I literally have no idea what you want from me right now, game. Like and there's sometimes where, because the map is so awful of showing you where you are in like relation to the actual map that you have, I've literally just walked in circles like for way too long because I'm just trying to learn this damn map. And I'm just like, there should be a "you are here" thing to just make it so this isn't dog shit. Like, cause I just can't understand where I am in relation to this. There's like nothing. The only way I understand it is because my terminal, like my map for things, will update when I get to a new place. And then I'll be like, oh, that's where I am. Cause otherwise I have no fucking clue. The game is fun. The game is interesting. It has moments where I'm like, oh, this is so cool, where you'll walk down a street and a gang war will just happen. Like, while you're there, and people will just start fighting and you'll be like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. And there'll be things where, you know, like this gritty world and this interesting plot of you trying to escape this kind of just like apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic type Earth where there's all these mutants and just these gang wars everywhere. There's so much that could be good, but I just feel like it's not there. And it's really upsetting because I was so excited for this game. And I don't know if I want to keep playing it.
Oh, dang. That's actually an interesting little transition for me. The game that I have been playing actually, I've been playing 2 games, but one of them, I had a very similar feeling to you where it's like, I want to enjoy this so much, specifically because of its art style, but I just can't get into it, and I'm like kind of upset about it in a sense, is actually Greak, Memories of Azur by Navegante Entertainment. I really don't know how to say that one. So this one, it was something that we talked about a while ago, because it had popped up, and I believe like Nintendo Indie World like tweeted it or something like that.
Yeah,
it looks really, really cool. It has this really awesome art style. And it's honestly a really beautiful game. I wanted to make sure I played it before we did our Indie Game of the Year episode. And luckily during the autumn sale for Steam, it was on sale for $8. So I was like, oh, fuck yeah, dude, I'll play that. And I hadn't played a whole lot last week, so I didn't want to talk about it because I had already played with some Gloria Victis. So I was like, whatever. But I ended up over like later in that week and into the weekend, I played some more Greak Memories of Azur, and I was just really put down by it. I'm just not a fan. Honestly, there are a bunch of like compiling things. The art style and the world itself are like, I love the art style a lot. The world itself seems interesting. There are these essentially like what would be elves that are trying to, I guess, get away from this other race of beings and this weird sludge that has just started to like mutate and deform and just like really fuck up everything. And you're just trying to evacuate to the sky to get away from it. But first, you have to find your brother and sister. You have to learn all of these sort of things. You have to do all sorts of different stuff. It's very weird. And I believe the overall arc would be that you, as Greak, one of the characters, would actually find out why all of this is happening, and you'd probably be able to fix it. But however interesting I found that, I was so put off by the gameplay and the systems of the game that I was just like, nah, dude, I don't want to play this game anymore. I put like, I think 3 or 4 hours into it, and I was like, I'm just done. Like, I don't care. Honestly, the only reason I would continue playing this game right now is just to get the Steam cards. I'm gonna be honest, because the art style is my favorite, and I would love to have those Steam cards. Like, it looks really, really good. I don't really know a whole lot that I can compare it to. It's like this really minimalistic art style, and everything just looks so cute and adorable. But so when you start off, you're playing as Greak. You trying to find your sister. You eventually find her, but it's one of those things where you have to constantly switch between the two characters because you play them both. It almost seems like it was designed for more than one person to play, but the fact is that you don't always have that other person. You can't always play as that other person, so it's however much it feels like it might have been designed for co-op, it's not. Like, it's just, it's not meant to be played that way. So you end up getting her, then you lose her, you have to find her. And eventually when I did, I was just really underwhelmed by how it felt. Most of the puzzles in this game are based on like you having more than one person and you having to like have one stand on this lever so you can go over and adjust this like weird mirror. It's all sorts of weird stuff. The combat feels really just like button mashy. I found that at least with Greak, I didn't I think his sister's name is like Ada or something like that. She's I forget. She's a magician and you can't really spam her attacks because she has like basically what would be a mana bar that eventually runs out. It comes back pretty quickly. And I never got their brother, who would be this like warrior type that has a sword and shield. So maybe things really change then, but I really didn't want to suffer through any more of playing as Greak because you can literally walk up to enemies and just continuously click the attack button and they will be basically stun locked to where they can't hit you. Like no matter what, I've just ran up and been like, ah! And they're just dead. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Boss battles are a little bit different because like they have a few different mechanics. Specifically, there was this one boss that would constantly vanish and show up in different places. And he wasn't actually summoning doppelgangers, but it seemed like it. He was just summoning other version. Like he was calling upon seemingly like his soldiers that would pop up and shoot these blowguns at you. That was an interesting battle, but I was like, the combat doesn't feel good enough for me to give a shit about this. Like, I just don't care that much. I eventually got my sister and I was like, I'm kind of sick of all these puzzles that are based on having more than one person. It's really fucking stupid. And I'm not a fan. I ended up just being like, no, like this could be something that somebody would really enjoy. I love the art style, but I got over the more than one character gimmick pretty fucking quickly. I was like, I'm sick of it. Like, and it actually kind of sucks because one of the things that's like a nitpick that really bothers me, but of course it's just a dumb thing, is each one of your characters has a different mode of transportation, at least when it comes to jumping. So Greek has a double jump, whereas his sister can jump and then she can glide based on how much mana she has. And she can glide over to like different areas, but if she runs out, she falls or whatever. But you can have them both run at the same time. You can have her follow you and they run at the same time. She will never double jump with the exception of that. She will double jump. And I'm like, what? Seemingly you can do it. Why the fuck won't you do it? And it's so annoying because sometimes I will have Greek sit on a podium and then she goes like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to play as her. I'm going to go do this or whatever. And I need somebody who can double jump, not knowing that she fucking can't. And I'm like, son of a, God damn it. So I have to just go back. I have to switch out the characters, have to do it all over again. It just got kind of old, just the little bit I played, because it took me a while to find her. It was like an hour and a half before I found her of game time. And then when I found her, I was like, I am not into this. I do not enjoy switching between these two characters. So it just got old for me. Some people might really enjoy it. The art style is really, really awesome. Also, the opening cinematic, and this is actually something I was going to talk about in Ender Lilies. The opening cinematic, the audio itself, like the vocal line, the narration, and the music do not match. They're not on the same level. The music is so much louder than the narration, and the person had like a fairly thick accent where I was like, I don't know what you're saying. Ugh. I was like, I need subtitles. I turned on subtitles because I was like, or I think it might default to subtitles, but I was like, I literally can't hear you. It is impossible. And the few things that I can hear, I don't understand. It was just another little nitpicky bit, but
I think
it's just not a fan.
I feel like games in general are always too loud. They always start off.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why are you just destroying everyone's eardrums? I guess maybe because they're considering it being on a TV, but like I always play with headphones. So anytime I pop open a game, I always first put on subtitles and then shove that volume.
Just turn down that master volume.
Yeah, that master volume goes way down for me.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good thing. Maybe I'll have to do that. The other game that I've been playing recently, and once again, this is one of the things that I wanted to play before we got to our Indie Game of the Year episode, is Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights by Livewire and Adglobe, I believe is how you'd say that for the most part. I'm actually really glad that I picked this one up. Where Greak, I was like, whatever. Like, it's just, I wanted to make sure I got to play it so that I would be informed for our Indie Game of the Year. I still haven't played Eastward. I want to, but it might, like, I checked on the time to beat, and I was like, shit, dude, Eastward's like 20 to 40 hours, and Ender Lilies is like 10 to 20 roughly. And I was like,
Yeah.
I might just beat Ender Lilies.
that's another one of the reasons why I was like, I don't know that I'm going to play Mechajammer. Like, I might go back into it maybe once they've fixed a lot of the bugs, because I think it's still a good game at heart, but like Mechajammer is like a 20, 30, 40-ish hour game to complete, and I was like, I don't know that I could go for that long with all those bugs. Like,
yeah, like it's something I can suffer through for maybe a couple hours, but
yeah, like I'm gonna wait a bit for some balancing changes. But yeah,
all
anyway,
right.
sorry.
Hopefully it happens.
No, I'm
you're
excited to hear
totally
about
fine.
this one, because I think that this game looks really cool. And when I first saw it, I believe we saw it together in some kind of showcase, and we're like, wow, that is awesome.
I think so. So the idea of Ender Lilies is they call it a 2D action platformer or action adventure. It's a Metroidvania. Like, just be honest about it. Just say the fucking word. Like, I get that everyone's annoyed about like being. You shouldn't be reduced to one word, but it just easily is the classification for your game. So you wake up, you are this, like, basically a child and don't really understand what's happening. You wake up in this really, like, gothic horror setting where the land is just, I guess, taken by this plague, this weird sickness that deforms all of the people into these creatures that you then have to fight. I believe it's called the Blight, and they are the Blighted, but I'm not 100% certain. I know they're the Blighted, but I don't know about the actual name of the sickness. But you wake up, you are this white priestess, and you can essentially... I forget what the specific word they use is. You pacify them for the most part. You like cure them of it, but you don't. Like, it's not that they're living. They're just no longer living in endless horror. They die. Oh, I think you purify them is the word they use. So basically that they can just finally go on to the afterlife and be happy, kind of a deal.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, you wake up as this white priestess, and there is this spirit that's just kind of like following you around. It's called the Errant Knight, and it acts as your melee. So that's the thing I found coolest about this game, is that you literally are not involved in combat. Your actual character is not the one fighting. They use different spirits to do that. It actually reminds me of Shaman King, which I think is really fucking cool. I was like super into it. And this Errant Knight is essentially your melee attack. So they use a longsword. You just chop up enemies. You have this easy little like dodge button where you can just kind of like jump out of the way, because you are literally a child. Like, you're just a small child. It's very interesting. And as you go through the game, you get more and more spirits that allow for different gameplay techniques. There are only certain ones that are actually infinite. Like, you can use the Errant Knight, and you can use, I forget his name, but there's another boss that has a heavy hammer attack. Those two are infinite. Every other one that you get basically has like a number of uses that you can do. But the nice thing about it is it's not just major bosses. Mini bosses you can purify into, there are like a number of different mini bosses that you can find scattered throughout the map, which really, really incentivize you to actually explore and check out these different areas that can have really cool abilities. Like, there was this one I found called the Western Merchant, and it was seemingly a person that was then mutated into this crow creature. But when you use it, they have like 53, and I was like, damn, dude, 53 uses? That's dope, because normally you're getting like less than 20. And it kind of blows, but they are like fairly powerful depending on how you use them. And like, depending on if you're on the ground or in the air, some of them change. Like, the second spirit that you get is essentially, she's a guardian. that is meant to protect the White Priestess. And when you get her, after you defeat her, because you actually have to beat her in a boss battle, because of course it's a mixture between mini bosses and actual bosses. You then get you purify them and get their spirits. But once you get her spirit actually acts in two different ways. If you're stationary, she will just swing it. She will swing like a morning star in the area around her, which will hit people in front of, below, and a little bit above. But if you jump in the air, she does it differently, where she swings it around her, but it's kind of like a buzzsaw and hits over and over again. So I found like it was actually kind of nice, because on occasion I would use that spirit on the ground when I really needed a little bit of extra damage, but more often than not, I used it while leaping into the air on bosses. Specifically, I just fought, I believe they're called like the Dark Witch Elaine. I know their name is Elaine, but I don't remember their specific like tagline. They're a very cool designed character, but they're constantly floating in the air. And I was like, sweet. So I just jumped in the air and used this specific spirit, and it basically just ate the shit out of their health. It was awesome. And this crow, the Western Merchant, like you summon it and it had 53. I was like, no way. The other one only had 13. So I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm going to be shooting, like finally have a ranged attack. But it turns out that you basically summon this crow and it will shoot 53 times before it eventually goes away, or you can stop it manually, which I thought was really cool because it's just a little bit of extra damage. I use it during bosses. I use it when I need it, whatever. Maybe there are like some crows or enemies high up that I can't get to. I use it. It's really nice. There's a lot of variety for gameplay here. I'm honestly really, really enjoying the game. There are some really interesting aspects of it that I will talk more about in our Indie Game of the Year episode. But like something that's really cool is you can replay bosses, very similar to like how in Hollow Knight, you could use the Dreamnail or Awakened Dreamnail on previously defeated bosses to then fight them again. And actually get like I think it's Dream Essence. You can do a similar thing in Ender Lilies, but you just at any bench you can, which are saving points, very once again similar to Hollow Knight. You can actually just fight them again if you want to. I currently I haven't done it because I was like, I got through the boss. Like I'm not good at games. I don't want to fucking checking shit out. I don't know if it gives you anything special, but I do think that that's actually a really, really cool little bit. Plus, like all of the different cinematics are saved for you, so you can watch them whenever you want. Cool. One issue is on occasion, cinematics can actually, like when they are voice acted, which is very rare, they don't have that leveling right. So the opening cinematic, at least I vaguely remember this. It's possible that I'm talking on my ass here, but I vaguely remember the opening cinematic. The vocals were so much lower than the music. So once again, I was like, I guess I'm reading this, bitch. That's cool. I'm glad.
That's what you gotta do. What would you say is the like from a difficulty point of view? Is it a fairly tough game?
It's challenging, but I don't think it's impossible. Yeah, basically, like I'd say honestly, anyone could probably get through this game. It's not too tough. I've gotten through probably I'd say like 5 or 6 mini bosses, and I believe 3, 4 main bosses maybe. Okay. And so far I think I've only died like maybe 3 or 4 times in total. Okay. I've put like a good 5-6 hours into the game. From what I understand, this one's like a 15 to 20 hour game, I believe, on the like time to beat, and that's based on like just mainlining it. Gotcha. But there are like some really comprehensive guides I found for it, because I did actually find myself getting lost because it is a Metroidvania, and I couldn't really find out where I was supposed to go because I had to have these specific abilities. You can't swim underwater until you beat Elaine, but you can't beat Elaine until you beat the like hammer dude. Yep. So I had to go make sure I beat him first. It's the order was a little bit weird, and I was a bit thrown off by that, but I kind of enjoy it. An issue with both Ender Lilies and Greak, but it actually annoyed me a lot more in Ender Lilies, is the map is not very comprehensive. In Ender Lilies, I guess it annoyed me more in Greak. In Ender Lilies, it just shows like basically squares and rectangles, and in the general direction of where paths to new areas would be. That's all it shows you. It doesn't show you any more detail than that. It's possible maybe later you can get a trinket that allows you to see more, very similar to the badge system in Hollow Knight. Because you also require, like, you only have a certain amount of slots, similar to the notches in Hollow Knight. It seems to be very heavily inspired by Hollow Knight, and obviously like other Metroidvanias, Castlevania, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in Greek, the map is just like, you're in this place. Like, you're in the Azure Forest or whatever. And I was like, okay, you show me anything? Nope. You can't show you anything more than that. Nothing.
You harp on that being a bad thing, but I'd take that in Mechajammer.
You're like, anything, just any vague representation of where the fuck I am in this game.
Honestly, like, it's a big point of Metroidvanias and getting lost, and like I think it's why a lot of people don't like the genre necessarily, is because there's like the whole idea of that exploration and the fun part of finding those new areas is great. But I would say Metroid Dread, I don't believe you've played it, and you probably won't.
No.
Metroid Dread did this so damn well, and it's one of the reasons why I thought it was so great. Is it gives you the illusion of being this crazy, like you could go anywhere type game, but it's designed so well to constantly leave you in like the right place where you're like a room away each time from where you need to go. And like there's a little bit of you could veer off the beaten path, but like for the most part, the game kind of pushes you into like the, hey, you got that one item. Look at that wall. You remember that thing? You can break that now. Like shit like that, where it's like it doesn't obviously do it, but it kind of like you're in the right basic couple rooms wide where it like you'll figure it out. Whereas there's some like Shantae, great series, but the Shantae games, man, there are so many times where I'm like, where the fuck are you telling me to go right now? Like, I have no clue. And I feel like it's just a common trope with Metroidvanias, and it's like, there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, that's how it was with Ender Lilies, where I went through like an entire area and I was like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? Yeah. I literally lost myself and found out that like, instead of going down, I just needed to go up. And that's the area I needed to be in. And I had already gone through like 16 rooms in this down area. And I was like, how the fuck was I supposed to know that? Like, I think I'm supposed to be swimming in water. I'm just trying to find out how to fucking swim, bro. Yeah, it was weird, but we're pretty into this episode. So, of course, we're going to be talking about all sorts of games in next week's episode. So let's talk about our main topic for today. These are our Game Awards predictions. Once again, might be a little bit of a game, might be a little bit of a bet. Next week, we're going to be just comparing our choices as to what exactly we thought won in specific categories. We did not do them all. Right. There were a lot that we didn't do. Esports, specifically, I marked off a couple like best audio design and innovation and accessibility, not because I don't have any feelings on those, but because all of the games in audio design I had not played, and the same for innovation and accessibility. And I didn't really want to comment or like throw anything in there because I do really, really love audio design. And I think accessibility is a very like need to cover topic in the industry. Yep. So I was like, I don't want to like half-ass those ones. So I'm just gonna, we'll just not talk about it. But instead, we're gonna be talking about Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score and Music, Games for Impact, Best Ongoing, Best Indie, Best Mobile, Best Community Support, Best Action Game, Best Action/Adventure, Best Role-Playing Game, Best Family, Best Multiplayer, Best Debut Indie, and Most Anticipated Game. Those are the only ones that we will be covering, I believe.
Only.
Yeah, I was like, that's a couple,
a long list.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I would like, depending on how many of these, how long this takes us, I would like to give a little bit of context for each one of these. But let's start off with Game of the Year. Of course, we're gonna go through the nominations, but I also actually want to ask you real quick: do you have any predictions as to what games are shown, like what reveals we see in the show?
The only one that I've heard is a recent news thing that Arcane is making a sequel to Prey. And I'm hoping, because I played a little bit of Prey and I really liked it, but it was kind of an older game, and I was like, I'm not really like, not gonna keep going through. But I love the topic, I love the theme behind it. I think that Arcane makes pretty good games, and if that's the case, I'm into it.
Did you play Deathloop? I mean, it's in there for Game of the Year, so I've been interested to see.
I did not, and it's just because I don't have a PlayStation to play. Like, there's a lot of games. There's a lot of games in here that I had to kind of just be like, I'm guessing in some cases, and I'm going off of like, because a lot of this, right, is sometimes you have to kind of just know your audience of the people who are actually being the judges and giving those. And it's like, did a lot of people like Deathloop in the industry? A good portion did. So
seems like a mixed bag.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And that's kind of like where my head is at. So some of these, like, to give context, some of these I wasn't really too sure. So I was like, fuck it, I want to put the one that I want to win in some cases.
Really?
So I might lose because I'm just like, this is my pick because I want it to be there and I want to be right because I'm just hoping for it. Like, you'll find out right from the get-go that I might lose based on some of these choices.
All right. Okay. For me, predictions. I think the Arcane thing is really interesting, especially because they have Deathloop nominated for Game of the Year, and it's in some of these other categories. So that would be pretty cool. Like Arcane being like, yeah, we're kind of dominating this awards and nominations. Like, fucking, we got another game coming. That would be cool.
I also want to see something from kind of. I want to see more from the Xbox team, being like the Obsidian studio. I want to see something about Fable.
Yeah.
I want to see Starfield. Like, there's a lot that I want to see. I don't think I'll get to. I think we might see something like, I think Fable would be an interesting one to see.
I would love to see Fable. I definitely think we'll get an update on Senua's Saga, especially because it was announced at the Game Awards with the Xbox One X reveal. But yeah, I'm not necessarily certain. I would love to see Fable. I'm not sure we're going to see Avowed from Obsidian.
No, I don't think so.
But maybe.
But they also had Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah. There's...
I think is more likely than Avowed, because I feel like Outer Worlds 2 is probably they're just running off the same engine and just trying to create new content for it.
Yeah, I could see that. I really hope we see fucking Silksong. I'm just saying, dude.
Look,
anything.
I don't think so.
Just give me a fucking trailer.
That game doesn't exist.
Do you follow that Silksong News Twitter account that's just like Silksong News? And they, like, within an hour of each other were like, Silksong will not be shown at the Game Awards. And then, like, literally within an hour, they're like, Silksong will be shown at the Game Awards. It's like, fuck you. God damn it. It, like, totally threw me off. I just want to see it, dude. I just want to fucking see that game, bro.
That doesn't exist.
It'd be so nice to see it. But let's get on to these categories. For Game of the Year, they have Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Big Josh Boy, which one do you think is going to win for Game of the Year?
Psychonauts 2.
Really? Okay, so you said some of these are the ones you want to win. Do you think it will win, or do you want it to win?
I think it has a chance.
Okay.
For someone who's listened to a couple of different people in the industry, I think it has a chance. I think there's a lot of good games, but nothing is a definitive, right? Like, you have your God of Wars and your Red Dead Redemption 2s back in 2018, where people were like, these are the two heavy hitters. You know it's going to be one of them. I don't think there's anyone in this group that's like a for sure take it all home game, right? Like, I think that any one of these could win, and they're like, it just depends on who gets the most like edge.
Yeah, for me, I honestly, like, I've kind of come to terms with this fact that, like, I don't think it is possible in a year where just a semi-decent third-person action adventure or shooter comes out that anything else wins. I truly do not believe that it's possible at this point. Like, we've had some great games come out, and I've actually kind of like, I've really soured on the Game Awards in recent years, where, like, initially we've talked about it on here. I'm annoyed about the indie category. I think it's basically just a way for people to shoehorn, like, they just don't think they have to put indie in anything else. And I honestly feel like a lot of places kind of just have, like, this is a bad way to say this, but I don't know how else, is like the token smaller games that are put in categories that people are like, okay, we got to give 5 games. Why not throw in It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2? I don't think they have any chance of winning. I'm going to be entirely honest. No. It's not because I don't think they're great games. It's literally just because knowing the industry, I'm like, I don't believe enough people played those games to actually do this. Even though it's only 100, like it's 100 different, if it's 100 different sites and anything and everything, I believe at the very least It Takes Two is a co-op centric game, and I feel like that eliminates a lot of people. A lot of there are a lot of people that are like me that don't want to. Granted, but collectively they could offset that.
Yeah, but I think it's different because these are like industry people rather than just your average Joe Schmoes.
Maybe we'll find out.
Your average fucking Vaughns. Like there are we talked about this before, there's the players vote where they get like
10%. It's so fucking stupid. That annoys me even more because while reading, I read it again because I was like, it has to give some sort of justification as to why they are not weighted more or why they don't. And they basically say that specifically they say it is important that winners cannot be socially engineered in any way. And I was like, bro, you're taken from 100 different outlets. You're saying that can't be socially engineered?
Yeah.
What? And you have it just so ridiculously outweighed, 90% versus 10%.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Which gets you nothing. But
I don't even need to be 50-50, just 70-30, just an actual amount where people can vote. At this point, you're not even your vote means nothing. It's just 10%. Yeah.
But that being said, because there's a lot of these industries or these companies that generally have to do this or have to play a much more wide reach of games, I think that they still do have, because honestly, when I was looking at this list, It Takes Two was kind of my runner up to this because of just how good It Takes Two is.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So for me, I chose Deathloop. I've heard enough people talk about it. It was actually, for me, it was up between Deathloop and Resident Evil Village. Once again, I'm just playing based on numbers. I'm in a year that a fucking first person shooter comes out, I don't believe that anything else is going to win. So I believe that Deathloop has recency bias over Resident Evil Village. That's why I chose it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I've heard so many, bugs and complaints when it comes to Deathloop, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like it might not.
I've heard a lot of people talk shit about Deathloop, and I've heard a lot of people love it. And I was kind of up in the air, and I was like, I also heard good things and bad things about Resident Evil Village, but Deathloop came out a month or two ago, so I think that one's gonna win.
Yeah,
it's see. Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. So our next category is Best Game Direction. We've got Deathloop, It Takes Two, Returnal, Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Big Josh boy, what'd you pick in that one?
It Takes Two.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, actually, that was my runner-up for this category.
Because of the definition for Best Game Direction is why I chose this.
Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design.
There are not a lot of games that do this. I think that It Takes Two really plays in where every single one of the different levels that you're in, the different mechanics that you get, are all well designed to force you to have to work together. And it's such a good thing that most co-op games are you're just here and you got a friend there. And it's that's great. And a lot of the times that's what I'm looking for, right? If it's a shooter, it's okay, shoot the baddie and I'll shoot him as well or whatever. But this game is so indicative of you have to work together. There's no other way. Your mechanics are built between each other. And I just think it's much more than any of those other games have done, I think, from a direction standpoint.
Yeah. For me, I chose Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I felt from what I've heard, it works its universe, rendering how you can switch between worlds and stuff is really interesting. And people enjoyed it, and it's leveraging the PlayStation 5's hardware. And it was kind of one of the things that the PS5 was based on, even though reports have come out since that say technically they could have built that game on the PlayStation 4. it would work. Like they would just have to, I believe, like render it in the background or something like that. So, but I personally, I was like, definitely It Takes Two was up there for me. But once again, in my head, I was like, the co-op thing always throws me off, which you are right. Given the industry, there are probably a lot of people that did actually pick up and like play this co-op game, especially because a lot of people did talk about it. It was kind of just out there in the ether. People were always like, it was a big news story when it first came out. So they probably did play it. But for me, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Our next category is Best Narrative. The nominees are Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange, True Colors, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and Psychonauts 2. I was actually really surprised to see Guardians of the Galaxy in there. I'm going to be honest. Like, I've heard really good things about it. And like when it was initially revealed, I was like, I'm fucking into this. I was excited about Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody's talking shit because they're all burned by Avengers. I was like, bro, I didn't even want to play Avengers. Let's fucking go Guardians. And apparently it's good, dude. So I'm excited. Not what I chose, but I'm excited. So Big Josh Boy, what did you choose for Best Narrative?
Life is Strange.
Yeah, me too. That's exactly what I chose too. Yeah.
I know nothing about Life is Strange. I just know how big of a like pull it has and how there's the people who like it will like fall head over heels for it. So I was like, this seems like what will end up winning.
Plus, I think it covers a lot of like major themes that constantly come up in just everyday life. And a lot of people are going to resonate with that, especially because it talks about like inequality. It talks about racism. It talks about like LGBTQ plus rights. It's very interesting. I really enjoy the Life is Strange series. I played through the first one, played through a bit of Life is Strange 2. I didn't get too into Before the Storm, but I want to. And True Colors, I haven't even like checked anything out for, but people are raving about it. So I'm into it. But there you go. We both picked that one. The next one is Best Art Direction. Our nominees are The Artful Escape, Deathloop, Kena, Bridge of Spirits. I think it's actually meant to be pronounced Kena, by the way, but I'm not 100% sure. No. Psychonauts 2 and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. What you got?
The Artful Escape. Bro, it's got art in the name. It's gotta win.
So the category definition is for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. That was the only reason, like The Artful Escape, I would have gone with that.
Did you go for
because
Ratchet?
Of like the animation tag? No, I went for Kena because everyone was freaking out about Ember Lab, this small team, like indie or not, like whatever. They got some funding from, I believe, like Sony and the Epic Game Store, whatever. I don't give a shit. But how well that game, like how great it looked. Everyone was talking about how it looked like a Pixar movie. And I think that's going to like really resonate with people. And once again, I don't know how many people fucking played The Artful Escape.
That's true.
I haven't heard a single person talk about it.
I've heard a couple of people, and because it's a Game Pass game and it's free, I feel like a good amount of people will have from the industry. I will agree with you, but I looked at both those too. I looked at Kena and I was like, I don't see it. I was like, this just looks like a fucking normal 3D platformer. Like, what?
Yeah, it could be very possible that I'm operating off of like assumptions I made from trailers, and the game actually doesn't look like that. But supposedly the trailers when they first came out were meant to be like in engine.
Right.
So
right. I don't know. And granted, I was just looking at like gameplay of both because those were my two like ones that I was down to, and I went with Artful Escape because I was like, this looks better to me. Whereas the Kena one, I was like, it's okay.
Our next one is Best Score and Music. This one, I feel like we might also have the same answer. Big Josh, what would you choose?
Cyberpunk.
Really? Cyberpunk for Best Score and Music, huh?
Yep, Cyberpunk.
I did not expect that. Okay. All right. For me, I chose The Artful Escape because I was like, it's literally like all about music. It's all about like escaping into music. My runner-up was actually going to be Nier, specifically because I forgot to actually read the nominees, by the way. It's The Artful Escape, Cyberpunk 2077, Deathloop, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Nier Replicant version. I'm not going to read that. That's a lot of numbers. My second, my runner-up was Nier, mainly just because I've heard so many good things about the soundtrack in the Nier series. And I was like, okay, people are probably gonna like that shit. But the Artful Escape, I'm like, it's literally what the game is about. So
It's funny
I'm just going to
because-
go with it.
It's funny because your reasoning for not putting Artful Escape in the first one was my reasoning for not putting Artful Escape in this one.
Yeah, I know. After I said it, I was just like, nah, it's probably wrong.
Because I feel like more people are going to have played Cyberpunk, and Cyberpunk has a pretty good, like, say what you will about all their bugs. Like, if you listen to, like, I just started, one of the things that I did for this was just listen to the soundtracks on YouTube, and I was like, yeah, I could jam with Cyberpunks more than I could any of the others.
It's got some good music. It really does. I'm almost like, the only thing about Cyberpunk is, however much people would say that it doesn't actually like impact their voting or anything, I do think that like the launch issues and everything that have surrounded Cyberpunk will taint some people's like voting. I just feel like it might bleed into it a bit, but I'm not necessarily sure. I really don't know.
It depends, because I've heard a lot of people in the industry who are like Cyberpunk like enthusiasts still, because they're like, well, the game is really good, you just have to play it in the right place.
Yeah, you have to play it on PC. You have to play it on a beefy rig. That's about it. Yeah. I feel the exact same way, where I was like, I liked Cyberpunk, but I didn't play it on PlayStation 4. I didn't get baited. Like, that shit sucks. So our next category is Games for Impact. The nominees are Before Your Eyes, Boyfriend Dungeon, Chicory, A Colorful Tale, Life is Strange, True Colors, and No Longer Home. So, Big Josh Boy, which one you pick?
This one was really tough for me. I went with Before Your Eyes, and I think I'm being a little bit of just swooned because I just recently played it. But I think a lot of these, it's going to be close.
Yeah.
Because all of them are really good when it comes to, like, I love Before Your Eyes and the story it tells. I love Chicory for the mental health thing. Life is Strange has so much popularity that it also could run with it. Like, there's all of these games are really good. But I think I'm going to go with Before Your Eyes, because I feel like it'll also be a very like interesting window into accessibility, because it's a game you can play with just blinking.
Yeah, that's all right. There you go. For me, Games for Impact, I chose Life is Strange. I felt like enough people have played it. I've heard really good things about it, and just knowing the series, I was like, honestly, that one is kind of a guess, because I haven't played True Colors. I haven't played any of these games, but I've heard things like you talked about Boyfriend Dungeon, and I believe, like, at the very least, we talked about it in our like news coverage of the creepiness in the game. You talked about Before Your Eyes and Chicory, and I was like, I just hear a lot of people talking about Life is Strange, and I've played, like, I know what that series is kind of based in, so I went with Life is Strange. Our next category is Best Ongoing. The nominees for it are Apex Legends, Final Fantasy XIV Online, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, and Call of Duty Warzone. What'd you got?
Fortnite.
Really? You think Fortnite's gonna win?
I think it's still going. I think it's still going strong. And
they just put in that fucking Spider-Man shit that's apparently good.
That people are really liking. So I think it's going to get it.
Okay. All right. For me, I chose Final Fantasy XIV. One, like, Endwalker is, like, I believe tangentially related to the Game Awards. It really means nothing, but, like, Endwalker's a big deal, and releasing like in a day or two at the time of this recording, but people are actually playing it right now. Plus, I feel like the team at Square Enix has been really good with the development of this game. Like, obviously, when it first came out, they unreleased it for the most part, re-released it as a Realm Reborn, and it's just taken the ball and run and just made like banger after banger of expansion. I hear a lot of like amazing things about Final Fantasy. I might get into it again, just letting you know.
This guy.
Play that fucking playing a Lalafell, dude. Get to play that baby, bro.
All right, next topic.
So our next category is Best Indie. This is where we're home, Big Josh boy. Yeah, we've got 12 Minutes, Death's Door, Inscription, Kana, Bridge of Spirits, and Loop Hero. What'd you got?
I know this isn't going to win, but Inscription. I gotta go.
Really? Yeah.
Bro, I love this fucking game. It's so good. And the people who like, there's a lot of people that I've listened to who are like, I don't really like card games, but I love the first half of this. And I think that might still do it. My other is like, I think Loop Hero could technically make it.
I would love fucking Loop Hero to get fucking best indie, but it came out so long ago. Sometimes I forget that it came out this year,
which
bro.
is kind of why I picked Inscription, because Inscription had a big like pop off moment where a lot of people were like, "Whoa, what is this?" And I feel like it's just recent enough to keep people going.
Honestly, for that same reason, I chose Death's Door, because I'm like, so many fucking people talked about this game. Like, however much I think there are better, like, I think it's like, I enjoyed the game, but I don't think it's this like fucking mind-blowing experience like other people say it is. I think that like enough people played it and enjoyed it in the industry that it's like really gonna pop off, versus 12 minutes. I feel like it's a very divisive game for the most part.
A lot of people,
not just the story, but also the actual mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
So however many people played it, because I know a lot of people did, it being on Xbox Game Pass. Like I just think, for me, Death's Door. For Big Josh Boy, it's Inscription. Our next one is Best Mobile Game. This one's actually kind of interesting. The one that I chose for Best Mobile Game was just kind of because, like, bro, how would you not choose that? Like, it's insane that this shit is on mobile. So the nominees are Fantasia, Genshin Impact, League of Legends Wild Rift, Marvel Future Revolution, and Pokemon Unite. What you got?
Pokemon Unite.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a big splash. And I think it'll carry over. Because I feel like you're going to say Genshin.
Yeah, honestly, just because I'm blown away that you can play that shit on a phone.
Yeah, which I think, sure. But I think Genshin has been a pretty big thing already, like in previous years. And I feel like Pokemon is much more recent. And it's like, people fucking love Pokemon.
Yeah, they do. I've heard really good things about Pokemon Unite. So you might be right. Our next topic is Best Community Support. We've got Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14 Online, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. What you got?
No Man's Sky.
Yeah, me too. I feel like it has to be No Man's Sky, bro. How, like, after release, I don't understand how anyone could be annoyed with the team at Hello Games. Like, they've just consistently improved this game.
Yeah.
And like Destiny, people are pissed about the like issues with the Witch Queen and sunsetting content. Apex Legends, I haven't heard anybody talk about that game in a while. Same thing about Fortnite. Like, nothing from both of them, with the exception of this most recent Spider-Man stuff. And Final Fantasy 14, I think it's got there. But I don't often hear about like its amazing community support, with the exception of like, I feel like it also might hurt them that right now they're seeing massive queues because of Endwalker and people wanting to get into it. Like Chase, my best friend Chase, he's been sitting in like hour-long queues, getting disconnected and trying to get back in, and it being like he's thousands of people behind where he was before. And he's told me that several times. I just keep laughing at him because I think it's fucking hilarious. But like, yeah, I feel like no one really has a bad word to say about No Man's Sky outside of its release, outside of like the mismarketing, which of course, I feel like it taints stuff, but that's far enough away that at the very least, people in the industry don't give a shit about it anymore. They're like, we don't care. Our next one is Best Action Game. The nominees for Best Action Game are Back 4 Blood, Chivalry 2, Deathloop, Far Cry 6, and Returnal. Big Josh Boy. What'd you get?
I think I'm going to go with Returnal.
Me too, actually. Yeah. I've heard really good stuff about its combat.
Because I wanted to, when I first saw this, I wanted to go with Back 4 Blood, but I feel like it was such a blip on a radar.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it just kind of disappeared. I've heard good things about Chivalry 2, especially from Morgan of Prima Games, but I don't think enough people play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I've heard good things about Deathloop too, but apparently like the systems of the game can actually be pretty hard to comprehend for the most part. So I feel like that might throw people off. Far Cry 6, everybody's talking shit about it, how it's just more of the same, which I mean, in this category is actually kind of good because Far Cry, ever since Far Cry 3, got some good fucking action, dude.
True.
So I feel like that's not a big like deterrent, but the main thing we hear about Returnal. Like, people are annoyed about its difficulty,
the saving
like
system.
the save issues and stuff like that. But the one thing everyone says is it's got good action. It's got good gameplay. So yeah, I definitely think it will win as well. The next one we've got is Best Action Adventure Game. This one's kind of interesting. So we've got Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. So, Big Josh Boy.
Metroid Dread, baby.
Really? Okay, this might be because like I haven't most of these titles I haven't played. Obviously, I think like Psychonauts 2 is the only one I did. Yeah, it literally is the only one I did. So I don't have like a massive amount of knowledge into them, but I felt like Psychonauts 2 had a good mix of like its action adventure elements. The definition for this one is the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. And I was like, I feel like that definition suits Psychonauts 2 well, but now hearing what you said about Metroid Dread and like its good use of these Metroidvania elements, you might have got me there, big boy.
We'll see. I think it deserves it. But granted, I don't know how many people like really played it or got through it, because Metroid Dread was a little bit of a harder game when it comes to Nintendo series that I think people didn't anticipate.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, which I don't think it's that hard, but I think people they think of Nintendo, they think of like Luigi being like, hey, you died 3 times. Do you want me to play the game for you? And like, obviously that doesn't happen.
That's awesome. Our next category is Best Role-Playing Game. We've got Cyberpunk 2077, Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and Tales of Arise.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know shit about like any of these games, so I went with Cyberpunk.
I only played Cyberpunk.
I was like, I went with Cyberpunk because I was like, I don't know what all this weeb shit is. Cyberpunk it is.
Yeah, I didn't play Monster Hunter Rise or like any of these things outside of Cyberpunk, but I chose Shin Megami Tensei 5 specifically because I've just heard it's fucking great and everyone was on the like a Persona craze for a long time. So I feel like this is like everyone wants. They were supposed to have like 5 announcements from the Persona team during this year. Obviously the year has like fucking a couple like weeks left in it, so they're not getting that. So I feel like people are really chomping at the bit for a good role-playing game. And of course, like 1, this is Atlas. 2, this is what Persona branched off of. So I'm thinking people are liking the Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that side of the world when it comes to games. So I was just like, it's like it's shooting fish in a barrel kind of thing. I'm just taking a shot in the dark here. I'll just go with Cyberpunk.
Yeah, dude, that's the same thing for me on this next one. This one's Best Family Game. The nominees are It Takes Two, Mario Party Superstars, New Pokemon Snap, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and Wario Get It Together. Which one did you choose? I'm assuming It Takes Two.
I didn't. I chose Mario Party Superstars. Mainly because when I think of family games, I'm like, a game you could play with your family. All of these games are literally either 2 people or 1 person other than Mario Party Superstars. And there's like the Wario one, but I feel like Mario Party Superstars, like the little mini games, and it's like more well known and people will want that nostalgia of all of those older Mario Party games. So I was like, I feel like this has got to be it. Like if you're thinking of like a family game, like like if you were to buy any one of these games for your family, which one would it be that would be the best for that family? It'd probably be this one.
That was basically my reasoning as well. I was like, fucking It Takes Two's breaking families apart, literally in story and in gameplay. Yeah. Like Pokemon Snap, I don't know if you play that with that many people. Like I kind of went through the same thing, so I chose Mario Party as well. I do enjoy, finally, this isn't just fucking Nintendo category.
That's true.
There's also one of something else, which is hilarious.
Good enough.
Yeah, the solitary one.
Making strides here.
I know, right? Just leaps and bounds, Big Josh Boy. Leaps and bounds. So our next category is Best Multiplayer. The nominees are Back 4 Blood, Knockout City, It Takes Two, Monster Hunter Rise, New World, and Valheim. Which one did you choose?
This one was tough for me because I think It Takes Two. I talked about how great like the multiplayer aspect to it is and how combining that is amazing. But I still went with Valheim because good God, did this have a like and it's going to be the same with the next one. But like, it had a large moment in this year.
Yeah, for me, I went with It Takes Two, mainly because I feel like I've heard so many good things about the way that it does co-op. I like New World, but I didn't play with other people, and I actually don't even think like it forces you to play with other people. You don't have to play that game with others. Like outside of expeditions, which aren't even like most people's favorite part of the game, it's unnecessary to play with others. I gotta be honest. Like, granted, it's about like open world PvP and territory control and stuff like that. But yeah, I just felt like it's not necessarily something that I really think of as a multiplayer game.
Yeah,
that's kind of my deal.
What's the definition on best multiplayer on the?
So this one's for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform.
Yeah, that's another reason why I picked that, is because the definition of it very much seemed like, what's the best MMO? And I was like, what? I was like, okay.
Yeah, the reason so New World, I don't personally think of it as like a multiplayer game, and I know a lot of people who just played it by themselves, especially because a lot of it is just that constant grind. And Valheim, I was just like, I don't know. Like, I know it really, like, it popped off, and I know a decent amount of people played, but I don't know how many people in the industry really did. Like, how many of them have PCs, really got into it. I have no idea. I don't actually listen to that many gaming podcasts and stuff anymore. So for me, it was like, It Takes Two. I've heard great things, and that was about it. I was like, I don't know what else to do. Our next category is Best Debut Indie Game. The nominees for this one are The Artful Escape, The Forgotten City, Kena, Bridge of Spirits, Sable, and Valheim fucking feels just like, nah, Sable is boo-boo. But
that's what he says.
Big Josh boy. Outside
Valheim.
of
It's Valheim.
Okay. All right. You chose Valheim. What did I choose? I forget. I chose The Forgotten City. So mostly just because you said some great things about it. I looked at it and thought it looked awesome, and I was like, the Game Pass feature of it. Like, I feel like a lot of people played because it was on Game Pass.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure.
Plus it's like very recent.
Yeah,
I feel like Valheim has like fallen to the wayside since it came out in like fucking the beginning of this year. A lot of my choices are like taking recency bias into account.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a good way to go, but like Valheim, based on the idea of what's the best debut indie, like the first game for a company to create, it's like you can't do better than Valheim did. Like, they made buco bucks on that game.
That is a great point. Like, that shit popped off. People were like, it was topping charts like no other. Yeah. That's a great point. I didn't think about that. Our next and last category before we move on to News Cram and our listener questions, dude, we got a shitload today.
I know, this is gonna be a long one. We gotta wrap this up.
I know, dude. Yeah, like, this is a long episode. Is most anticipated game. We've got Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, because we don't even have a title, and Starfield. Which one did you pick?
God of War.
Really?
God of War.
Okay, what was your reasoning for that one? Is it just like you personally are most looking forward to that title in these few, or?
No, I think that it has the biggest amount of hype from a previous installment. Elden Ring, we have a lot of people who are into it because they're like, oh, a Souls-like, and it's, you know, it's got some backing from George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, he wrote the lore.
And so I think there's a good amount of hype, but I feel like that is done a bit, because I just feel like that's, you know, there's a lot of very vocal people who are Souls-like players.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like there's also a lot of people who do not want anything to do with that. Yeah. And I feel like God of War is a much more accessible game to like the idea of anyone can really play it. And it had such a large fan base from that 2018 version. So I was like, I feel like this is it.
Yeah, I was really between God of War and Elden Ring for me. I only chose Elden Ring because of the most recent like stress test that they did. And I was like, okay, people have literally gotten their hands on this game in the industry within the past couple months, and that kind of pushed me over the edge versus God of War Ragnarok. We've seen one actual trailer of it, which I have to say, fucking hilarious, because they all covered up the like Ragnarok title, but literally in the game reveal, it said God of War Ragnarok. They're all peeling fucking tape off their sweatshirts, and I was like, we already know what the game is called. Why are you doing that? But yeah, it was, I totally get that one. So we will have to see, of course. That one is airing at the Game Awards is airing at the end of this week. So in next week's Indie Game of the Year episode, we will be talking about our predictions, whether we got them right, what we got wrong, all sorts of fun stuff, probably even stuff announced at the Game Awards. Only the indie stuff, we gotta do that.
That's how we do.
But we've heavily covered this, and we got to get through the episode. So it's time to hop into News Cram. News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of IndiePod, an indie games podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie games news. This week, we do not have any quick news stories or new deals and quick steals, but we do have a whole bunch of new stuff. Our first 6 items of new stuff come by way of Nintendo Life, where it's reported that rogue-lite platformer Cave Blazers by Deadpan Games is getting a physical release through Super Rare Games, with copies available through superraregames.com at the time of this recording. That action adventure game Omno by Jonas Mankey or Manke, I don't really know, is headed to the Nintendo Switch on December 16th. That simulation game Space Flight Simulator, I keep wanting to say fight. When I first typed it in, it was fight. I was like, what? By Stefo Marogna. I don't know. I butchered that one for sure. Is headed to the Nintendo Switch sometime in 2022. That crafting adventure game Witchwood by Alien Trap is headed to all current and last gen platforms on December 9th. That adventure game The Procession to Calvary by Joe Richardson is getting a physical release through Red Art Games' official store. So it's like specifically through Red Art Games. So check that one out if you're interested. And that puzzle platformer Aspire Ina's Tale by Whalenought Studio is headed to the Nintendo Switch on December 17th. Now over on Twinfinite, where it's reported that the massive Afterlife update for White Rabbit's Death's Gambit is now live on PlayStation 4 copies of the game. That top-down 2D battle royale game Super Animal Royale by Pixile will begin its second season on December 14th. That co-op FPS Deep Rock Galactic by Ghost Ship Games will be headed to PlayStation platforms in January of 2022. That Roguevania game Dead Cells by Motion Twin and Evil Emperor will be receiving a new piece of DLC in early 2022 titled The Queen and the Sea. This new DLC will include a new ending, an alternate final boss, and much more. And that narrative adventure game Where the Heart Leads by Armature Games is headed to PC via Steam and the Xbox, the Epic Games Store sometime in 2022. Now over on IGN, where it's reported that heavy metal open world horror hunting game, oh my god, The Axis Unseen by Just Perky Games is headed to PC via the Epic Games Store and Steam, yet no release information was given. And to round out the group over on GameSpot, it is reported that action RPG Tribes of Midgard by Norsefell will begin its second season on December 14th, which will introduce new bosses, weapons, and much more to the game. And lastly, that popular farming sim game Stardew Valley by Concerned Ape just received a new update that adds more mod support to the game, as well as other quality of life improvements. Oh my god, fuck me.
That was a quick cram.
I was like, improvement, whatever. We've been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it is time for us to get back to the creators in our next segment. God bless the crowd. This is where Big Josh Boy hops into all sorts of crowdfunding sites, mainly Kickstarter, finds something awesome for us to talk about, and we do just so. This week, like I said, over on Kickstarter, big surprise, we're going to be talking about a game called Recursor. It is an action roguelite inspired by platform fighters. It's developed by Wills Blackett. I believe is how you'd say their name. They are looking for $10,586. They, at the time of this recording, have 15,537, so over their goal. They have 405 backers and 13 days left to go to get in on the ground floor and actually get yourself a copy of the game. It is only $14, and that not only gets you a copy of the game on Steam, but also gets your name in the credits. But Big Josh Boy, how are you feeling about Recursor?
Looks fun. I think it looks so. I enjoy the fact that it's taking a lot of inspiration from what seems to be Super Smash Brothers, from a combat and kind of like floaty style presentation to the way your character moves. I like the fact that they do have what seems to be a somewhat intricate number of abilities and ways to actually fight in this game. And you know me, I love roguelikes and RNG. And this feels like it. Like, I like the fact that you're just going from like wave to wave to different room to room. You're getting these upgrades, you're fighting these monsters, you have these like little mini game rooms. There's weird things like that slingshot, you get like grenade bomb things. There seems to be a good amount in this game, or like, you know, a good showing so far in this trailer. One of the things that they talked about in this Kickstarter is that a lot of the groundwork is there, but they just want more and more types of, you know, enemies, types of rooms, types of things that you can get to just really spruce this up and make it, you know, the best it can be. And I think it looks good. This was chosen just because I thought it was a cool looking game. It's not chosen really because it's struggling. It already has made its goal. It's over. But I feel like there's a good amount of people out there who might be into this style game. If you really liked those mini games from Super Smash of breaking the targets, you might want to pick this one up.
Yeah. I personally, like, when I first saw the inspired by the platform fighter genre, I don't really see it, if I'm being entirely honest. No? Like, your movement looks a little bit more weighted and a little bit less floaty. Granted, it's only like inspired by them. Yeah. And yeah. I'm just not really seeing it that much. But granted, like, I don't play them all that often, so it's possible I'm just kind of missing it. I don't know the nuances of that genre, but I do think the game looks cool. I really like it's like super fast paced, kind of momentum heavy, like just sliding through levels. I think that looks really, really cool. And that lends to one of the things they're shooting for, which is like speed runs. And I think this would be like a really cool one to watch people speed run. Granted, it seems less like in this game about breaking the game, like often enough what speedrunners do, but more about just like possibly perfecting these different things. Granted, it's like fucking procedurally generated, so they'll probably break the shit out of this game. But yeah, it seems interesting. I like its minimalist art style. I think that's pretty dope. The like sword slicing and combat animations look pretty sweet. Plus, for $14, I feel like this isn't a bad buy-in. Like, no. That's not a whole lot. You can actually check out the demo right now to see like if you would be into the possibility of this game. And September 2022 as an estimated like delivery date, not super far away. And like you said, they basically got the ground floor laid out, and the thing they're really working on is kind of like basically just adding more to the game, which is nice. Like in roguelikes and roguelites, that's kind of what you want, is to increase replayability with this large variety, this like massive suite of different opportunities. So I think it looks really interesting. I don't have like a massive amount to say about Recursor, but do you have anything more you want to talk about?
No, I think, you know, honestly, this Kickstarter really didn't give that much. But I also don't think it needs to, because I think the basic premise is there and it has that demo for you if you want to play. I think the idea is just, you know, a more intricate combat system when it comes to probably the way you attack and having different move sets. Having you go through these random rooms and you don't know what you're going to find. They want to work on more enemy types, more room types. I think that this is more for someone who's already a fan of, you know, the roguelite and roguelike genre. But otherwise, you know, you might enjoy it still. I would say try the demo, but honestly, I think it's a cool looking game that people should take a look at.
All right. Once again, that is Recursor. That's spelled Recursor. And it is over on Kickstarter. You still got 15 days left to go at the time of this recording. So, of course, if you're listening to this on free feeds, you got a few days left, but just hop over, check it out. Maybe try out the demo, see if it's your jam. You got that like $14. You even got less if you don't want, if you just want to back, not get a copy of the game, but you get updates and such. So, yeah, Recursor over on Kickstarter, but it's time for us to get into our listener questions. Mr. Philip Wrench, the one bad imp of Australia, writes in and says, please help me settle an argument between my fiance and myself. If you had a clone and you had relations, I very much enjoy the fact that they said relations. With that clone, are you masturbating or having sex? Really didn't pull punches later on, so the relations thing was interesting, but...
Yeah.
How you feeling about this one? Masturbating, having sex. It's your clone.
I mean, I think it depends on what that relations is. I think you can masturbate, but you could also have sex. Just depends on what action you're doing.
For me, it would be, I guess, yeah, literally, in a sense, it would be like sex isn't just about penetration. But yeah, I mean... If you were to say, because I know Phil is like, I have a specific image in my head for this argument, I would assume there's penetration. And the deal is like, are you having sex with somebody or is it different because you're just having sex with yourself? So it's like, is like blowing yourself, giving a blowjob, or are you masturbating? It's like both. But I would say, I don't know, I would say having sex, mostly because, and this is just like me, I know it's going to annoy Phil,
I'm sure.
I don't think you can 100% recreate an individual. That's just me. Cloning, yes, it is your genetic material, but they are a different person than you. So for me, it's having sex. But I mean, based on a technicality, sure, it's masturbating. Like if you really want to get into it, it's basically masturbating. But whatever. There you go. The next bit I was actually really interested in because he talked about something that I fucking no joke. I refer to this often. But you were going to say something.
No, it's fine. We can move on.
Okay. They say, I just watched a Korean movie called Old Boy, and oh boy, is that movie fucked up with its twists. Yeah. It is. What piece of media, movie, game, book, whatever, has disturbed you the most? Okay, so I have to give a brief story about Old Boy. I don't go to escape rooms because of this movie. Granted, I did not watch the Korean, the original. I believe they adapted it into English, and it obviously has different actors. So there's Samuel L. Jackson and others. I forget his name. The guy who plays fucking Thanos is the main character in it, and it has. Yes, Grimace. And I believe her name is Elizabeth Olsen is also in it. It is super messed up though. Great movie. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, I will not go in escape rooms specifically because of Old Boy. I'm not willingly being trapped in a place. It's not happening. Anytime anyone asks, I literally had a friend 2 weeks ago was like, you want to go to an escape room? And I was like, no, I'm not trying to get Old Boy. And he's like the Korean movie? And I was like, exactly like that. It's not happening to me. I'm not stupid. So there you go. But do you have a piece of movie, just any sort of media that disturbs you the most? Or I guess what piece disturbs you the most?
Yes. Have you ever seen a Serbian film?
No. Never even heard of it.
Don't ever.
Just in general, or is it just a movie called
It's a movie
Serbian
called
film?
A Serbian Film.
Oh, okay.
Never
Why not? Is it just fucked up? Is it some body horror shit?
Fucked up in so many ways. It is.
Okay.
It's just, it's very disturbing. I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right.
If you want to know, you can look it up, but it's not a good movie.
Okay. All right. There you go. For me, a piece of media that has disturbed me the most, I guess it's kind of hard since I'm kind of a bitch. But I mean, way back when it was actually Signs, like M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. When I was a kid, I was terrified of that movie. Weird. Like, which is crazy because now if I saw an alien in a cornfield, I was like, fucking bump it, bro. Welcome to Earth. Feel free to eat me. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, dude.
For sure.
Interstellar snack me up. But yeah, disturbed me the most. I mean, I'm really not a fan of body horrors. So things like the Human Centipede really got me. I never watched the second one. I've heard it's much more fucked up.
Oh,
but like,
I don't know. I watched the first one. I thought it was I thought it was okay. It was a really dumb premise though.
Ooh, you know what? Actually, Tusk. That disturbs me so much that I refuse to watch it. It is I believe it's, oh my God, I can't remember their names. But it's essentially about a journalist, like this kind of ass journalist. He's like a podcaster who goes to try to get this weird story from a guy who like, oh, a walrus saved him. And then the guy fucking captures him and turns him into a walrus in like the most fucked up way possible. Like he just starts chopping off it. He sews his fucking legs together. It's so messed up. Once again, not into body horror. Not a fan. So Tusk really fucking got me. I watched like 5 minutes and I was like, no. It has Justin Long in it. And I was like, oh, this is probably funny. And no, it is not. It's not.
Huh. Yeah, it's defined as a comedy horror, so.
It's not funny. They fucking lie, dude. And then they just say, My Little Pony, yay or nay. How you feeling about My Little Pony?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. I like how they just gave a blanket statement of My Little Pony. See, I'm not into it. I don't care like about bronies and stuff like that. Like that's really cool. Whatever. That's interesting. I've heard Friendship is Magic is actually a really good series and it's made me want to get into it. But after watching like a documentary about bronies and like Pegasisters and such, I was like, nah, I'm good. Like I don't really need to. I've heard good things. Not my jam. I'm gonna go as far as to say good jelly, not my jam, because I've heard great things, but I just don't know. I'm feeling like Phil's trying to test the waters. He's like, do I tell them I'm a brony?
Hey man, it's cool. Just not for us.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate your fandom, both for us and for My Little Pony, Phil. But like, it's just not for us, you know. I haven't given it a chance. Maybe if I did, maybe I'd love it. Maybe I would be a brony, but I don't know. Whatever.
For another time.
Jill writes in and says, if you ripped a big fart in your bath water, does it taint the water? Do you have to run another bath? Big Josh boy.
I mean,
you run another bath?
I don't take baths, but if I did, I guess it would depend on how gross that fart was.
You're like, did you shit in the bathwater is what I'm trying to ask you.
That's about it.
Yeah, you should probably like baths. I don't take baths either. I basically just take showers. I have ever since I was a kid, but like, nah, dude, just like, I know baths get cold. Fuck, dude, just run yourself another bath. Why not? You know, like
that's a lot of water.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, you're going through a lot of water. That is an issue. If you pay for utilities or if you're in a drought, you know, you got to watch out for that stuff. But like, it gets cold. Just run another one. You're sitting in poo water. Honestly, though, if you're okay with a bath in general, I feel like this should not bother you. Like ripping a fat fart, because you're basically just sitting in your own soup. You know, like it's just gross.
It's literally what a bath is.
Yeah, it's just gross. Here's the thing. I appreciate baths in Eastern cultures because they wash themselves before they get in the bath. The bath is like basically just like a hot spring. It's just to chill and kind of like detox, to enjoy. It's not about getting clean. They clean beforehand. Yeah. That is the optimal bath. The way we take baths in the United States is fucked up. You're sitting in poop soup, dude. Just letting you know. Sometimes. How you gonna clean your buns in that, bro? You sitting in there little flecks of pooey all around? Nah, that's gross. Fucking run another bath, you know?
Done.
Moving
easy.
Eldar writes in and says, what do you guys think of this new wave of open world being pioneered by games like Solar Ash and The Pathless? Have you played either of them, Big Josh
Nope,
Boy?
man, I don't want to. I have I just do not care about open world games. I find them boring.
Granted, so the reason that I would say there is like a subsection of open world for The Pathless, and from what I understand about Solar Ash, is like it's far less of an open world game than you'd think.
Right.
Because like, yes, it does literally have a somewhat open world. You do have to unlock, at least for the Pathless. I haven't played Solar Ash. It just doesn't seem like my game. Love Heart Machine, love Hyperlight Drifter. Solar Ash doesn't seem like my kind of a jam, but, or at least not what I'm looking for from Heart Machine. But the Pathless I played, it seems like what the two games have is like an interesting traversal method. Like it's less about the world being open and more about the way that you would get across it. This constant like increase in speed for the Pathless was really, really cool. And you like constantly trying to like shoot things in the distance, eventually opening up new areas. Like I do think that it's really cool. I enjoy it. Granted, I think that like they aren't necessarily open world games because I feel like open world has just been tainted by series, like specifically a lot of like Ubisoft's games where like open world games have basically, or at least the title have basically just evolved into like go to a pillar, climb pillar, you have area, go through area. Like it's just over and over and over and over again. You have that in Far Cry, you have it in Assassin's Creed. Like, yeah,
that's the open world game I hate.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think like the open world tag, I almost don't think that it should be used for Solar Ash or the Pathless, because technically, yes, I would say it's closer to a sandbox than it is an open world. And it's like frequent sandboxes sectioned off by like small routes to new ones. But like, I feel like they're different. They don't have these like, okay, I don't know about Solar Ash, but the Pathless, like you do go to different areas. You do go to like what would be these like radio towers. I guess they're somewhat similar, but far less egregious.
Yeah.
Where like the Pathless, you get these like it's mostly just a collectathon. That's it for the most part.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel like a lot of open world games are. And it's one of the reasons why I don't like it is because it's just too much to do and it never feels like a lot of it is meaningful. Whereas I think why I generally gravitate towards linear games or games that if they do have open world have like a very like specific story that doesn't try to make you veer off too much unless you really want to. Because I just need that focus and have that like reward of like what I'm doing really is worth my time versus just making the map a little bit bigger as far as what I have visible or making like another check off a list, because it's, you know, I could do that in any aspect of my life and I'd be fine. I don't need to do it here.
I liked the Pathless. Haven't played Solar Ash so far. I enjoy open world games for the most part. Don't really have an issue with them. Granted, they can get a little bit formulaic, but I feel like once again, the open world tag almost doesn't do the Pathless and Solar Ash, from what I understand, from what I've heard from people. I don't necessarily feel like it does the game's justice, but I don't know.
I mean, if it gets other people who like that genre into it and then they find like a, you know, semi-step into a different direction and they enjoy it, then like, yeah, sure. But also you're going to get people like me who I see something like that and they go like open world and I'm like immediately like, no, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people have open world fatigue. They're like, I'm kind of sick of open worlds. There's too many. Like, no, I'm good. So yeah, I definitely get it. But as for what we think, Big Josh Boy doesn't like open world games in general. I think that what Solar Ash and the Pathless are doing is really, really cool and almost merits like their own kind of like, not even necessarily their own subgenre, but just some way to distance them from that open world tag, because they do enough different where I'm like, it kind of just hurts them at this point because of open world fatigue. But that is the end of this episode. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside of the show, you can hit us up on Twitter at IndiePod for the podcast. You can hit me up at Hyde Legion. That's me, Legion. And you can follow Josh at _Josh90 over on Twitter. Once again, got to go through our housekeeping before we hop off here. Please check out our developer interviews going live each and every Wednesday. This Wednesday, the 8th, we've got Magnum of Ghost Coast Games. They're talking about their game Nobody. Check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring for t-shirts, hoodies, and we got stickers as well. It's pretty cool. Check out our YouTube channel, just IndiePod over on YouTube. Leave us reviews on any site in which you can do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out the most. And thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. If you give us any amount of time or any amount of your money, we absolutely love you for it. But we got to thank those $3 tiers. So thank you so much to Ethan, a gamer for fun. John, it's just John. We'll see Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the One Bad Emperor of Australia, Juno, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much. You are all so amazing. And we will talk to you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.